The Inca Empire, also known as the Incan Empire, was the largest empire in pre-Columbian America. The administrative, political and military center of the empire was located in Cusco in modern-day Peru. The Inca civilization arose from the highlands of Peru sometime in the early 13th century. Its last stronghold was conquered by the Spanish in 1572. From 1438 to 1533, the Incas used methods including conquest and peaceful assimilation to incorporate a large portion of West and South America, centered on the Andean mountain ranges. At its largest, the empire joined Peru, large parts of modern Ecuador, western and south-central Bolivia, northwest Argentina, north and central Chile, and a small part of southern Colombia into a state comparable to the historical empires of Eurasia. Its official language was Quechua. Many local forms of worship persisted in the empire, most of them concerning local sacred wakas, but the Inca leadership encouraged the worship of Inti, the sun god, and imposed its sovereignty above other cults such as that of Pachamama. The Incas considered the king, the Sapa Inca, to be the son of the sun. Name. The Inca referred to their empire as Tawantinsulyu, the four Sulu. In Quechua, Tawa is four and Ntin is a suffix naming a group, so that a Tawantin is a quartet, a group of four things taken together, in this case representing the four Suyu whose corners met at the capital. The four Suyu were Chinche Suyu, Anti-Suyu, Quasuyu and Contra-Suyu. The name Tawantinsuyu was, therefore, a descriptive term indicating a union of provinces. The Spanish transliterated the name as Tahuitinsulyo or Tahuitinsulyu. The term Inca means ruler or lord in Quechua and was used to refer to the ruling class of the ruling family. The Spanish adopted the term as an ethnic term referring to all subjects of the empire rather than simply the ruling class. As such, the name Imperio Inca referred to the nation that they encountered and subsequently conquered. History. Origin. The Inca people were a pastoral tribe in the Cusco area around the 12th century. Incan oral history tells an origin story of three caves. The center cave at Tampu-Tiucuyu was named Capac-Tiucuyu. The other caves were Maras-Tiucuyu and Sutik-Tiucuyu. Four brothers and four sisters stepped out of the middle cave. They were Ayamanco, Ayakachi, Ayarawq, and Ayauchu, and Mamarokyo, Mamarau, Mamawako, and Mamakara. Out of the side caves came the people who were to be the ancestors of all the Inca clans. Ayamanco carried a magic staff made of the finest gold. Where the staff landed, the people would live. They traveled for a long time. On the way, Ayakachi boasted about his strength and power. His siblings tricked him into returning to the cave to get a sacred llama. When he went into the cave, they trapped him inside to get rid of him. Ayauchu decided to stay on the top of the cave to look over the Inca people. The minute he proclaimed that, he turned to stone. They built a shrine around the stone and it became a sacred object. Ayauca grew tired of all this and decided to travel alone. Only Ayamanco and his four sisters remained. Finally, they reached Cusco. The staff sank into the ground. Before they arrived, Mamarokyo had already borne Ayamanco a child, Sinchiroka. The people who were already living in Cusco fought hard to keep the land, but Mamawaka was a good fighter. When the enemy attacked, she threw her bolus at a soldier and killed him instantly. The other people became afraid and ran away. After that, Ayamanco became known as Manco Capac, the founder of the Inca. It is said that he and his sisters built the first Inca homes in the valley with their own hands. When the time came, Manco Capac turned to stone like his brothers before him. His son, Huhsunqu, became the second emperor of the Inca Kingdom of Cusco under the leadership of Manco Capac. The Inca formed the small city-state Kingdom of Cusco. In 1438, they began a far-reaching expansion under the command of Sapa Inca Pachacuti Huhsunqupam, whose name literally meant earth-shaker. The name of Pachacuti was given to him after he conquered the tribe of Chances. During his reign, he and his son Tupac Yupanqui brought much of the Andes Mountains under Inca control. Reorganization and formation. Pachacuti reorganized the Kingdom of Cusco into the Huhsunqu, which consisted of a central government with the Inca at its head and 4 provincial governments with strong leaders: Chinchasuyu, Antisuyu, Cantasuyu and Quasuyu. Pachacuti is thought to have built Machu Picchu either as a family home or summer retreat, although it may have been an agricultural station. Pachacuti sent spies to regions he wanted in his empire. They brought reports on political organization, military strength and wealth. He then sent messages to the leaders extolling the benefits of joining his empire, offering them presents of luxury goods such as high-quality textiles and promising that they would be materially richer as his subjects. Most accepted the rule of the Inca as a fait accompli and acquiesced peacefully. The rulers' children were brought to Cusco to learn about Inca administration systems, then returned to rule the native lands. This allowed the Inca to indoctrinate them into the Inca nobility and, with luck, marry their daughters into families at various corners of the empire. Expansion and consolidation. Traditionally, the son of the Inca ruler led the army. Pachacuti's son Tupac Inca Yupanqui began conquest to the north in 1463 and continued them as Inca ruler after Pachacuti's death in 1471. Tupac Inca's most important conquest was the Kingdom of Chimor, the Inca's only serious rival for the Peruvian coast. Tupac Inca's empire stretched north into modern-day Ecuador and Colombia. Tupac Inca's son Huayna Capac added a small portion of land to the north in modern-day Ecuador and in parts of Peru. At its height, the Inca Empire included Peru and Bolivia, most of what is now Ecuador and a large portion of what is today Chile, north of the Maule River. The advance south halted after the Battle of the Maule, where they met determined resistance from the Mapuche. The empire's push into the Amazon basin near the Chinchipe River was stopped by the Shuar in 1527. The empire extended into corners of Argentina and Colombia. However, most of the southern portion of the Inca Empire, the portion denominated as Quasuyu, was located in the Altiplano. The Inca Empire was an amalgamation of languages, cultures and peoples. The components of the empire were not all uniformly loyal, nor were the local cultures all fully integrated. The Inca Empire as a whole had an economy based on exchange and taxation of luxury goods and labor. The following quote describes a method of taxation. For as is well known to all, not a single village of the highlands of the plains failed to pay the tribute levied on it by those who were in charge of these matters. There were even provinces where, when the natives alleged that they were unable to pay the tribute, the Inca ordered that each inhabitant should be obliged to turn in every 4 months a large quill full of live lice, which was the Inca's way of teaching and accustoming them to pay tribute. Inca Civil War and Spanish Conquest. Spanish conquistadors led by Francisco Pizarro and his brothers explored south from what is today Panama, reaching Inca territory by 1526. It was clear that they had reached a wealthy land with prospects of great treasure, and after one more expedition, in 1529, Pizarro traveled to Spain and received royal approval to conquer the region and be its viceroy. This approval was received as detailed in the following quote. In July 1529, the Queen of Spain signed a charter allowing Pizarro to conquer the Incas. Pizarro was named governor and captain of all conquests in Peru, or New Castile, as the Spanish now called the land. When they returned to Peru in 1532, a war of the two brothers between Huayna Capac's sons Huáscar and Atahualpa, an unrest among newly conquered territories, and perhaps more importantly, smallpox, which had spread from Central America, had considerably weakened the empire. Pizarro did not have a formidable force, with just 168 men, 1 cannon and 27 horses. He often talked his way out of potential confrontations that could have easily wiped out his party. The Spanish horsemen, fully armored, had technological superiority over the Inca forces. The traditional mode of battle in the Andes was a kind of siege warfare where large numbers of usually reluctant draftees were sent to overwhelm opponents. The Spaniards developed one of the finest military machines in the pre-modern world. Tactics learned in the centuries-long fight against Moorish kingdoms in Iberia. Along with this tactical and material superiority, the Spaniards acquired tens of thousands of native allies who sought to end the Inca control of the territories. The first engagement was the Battle of Puna, near present-day Guayaquil, Ecuador. On the Pacific coast, Pizarro then founded the city of Pura in July 1532. Hernando de Soto was sent inland to explore the interior and returned with an invitation to meet the Inca, Atahualpa, who had defeated his brother in the civil war and was resting at Cajamarca with his army of 80,000 troops. Pizarro and some of his men, most notably a friar named Vicente de Valverde, met with the Inca, who had brought only a small retinue. Through an interpreter, Friar Vicente read the requerimiento that demanded that he and his empire accept the yoke of King Charles I of Spain and convert to Christianity. Because of the language barrier and perhaps poor interpretation, Atahualpa became somewhat puzzled by the friar's description of Christian faith and was said to have not fully understood the envoy's intentions. After Atahualpa attempted further inquiry into the doctrines of the Christian faith, the Spanish became frustrated and impatient. They attacked the Inca's retinue and captured Atahualpa as hostage. Atahualpa offered the Spaniards enough gold to fill the room he was imprisoned in and twice that amount of silver. The Inca fulfilled this ransom, but Pizarro deceived them, refusing to release the Inca afterwards. During Atahualpa's imprisonment, Huáscar was assassinated elsewhere. The Spaniards maintained that this was at Atahualpa's orders. This was used as one of the charges against Atahualpa when the Spaniards finally executed him. In August 1533, last Incas, the Spanish installed Atahualpa's brother Manco Inca Huhsunqu in power. For some time Manco cooperated with the Spanish, while the Spanish fought to put down resistance in the north. Meanwhile, an associate of Pizarro's, Diego de Almagro, attempted to claim Cusco for himself. Manco tried to use this intra-Spanish feud to his advantage, recapturing Cusco in 1536, but the Spanish retook the city afterwards. Manco Inca then retreated to the mountains of Vilcabamba and established the small Neo-Inca state, where he and his successors ruled for another 36 years, sometimes raiding the Spanish or inciting revolts against them. In 1572, the last Inca stronghold was conquered and the last ruler, Tupac Amaru, Manco's son, was captured and executed. This ended resistance to the Spanish conquest under the political authority of the Inca state. After the fall of the Inca Empire, many aspects of Inca culture were systematically destroyed, including including the sophisticated farming system, known as the vertical archipelago model of agriculture. Spanish colonial officials used the Inca mita corvée labor system for colonial aims, sometimes brutally. One member of each family was forced to work in the gold and silver mines, the foremost of which was the Titanic silver mine at Potosi. When a family member died, which would usually happen within a year or two, the family was required to send a replacement. The effects of smallpox on the Inca Empire were even more devastating. Beginning in Colombia, smallpox spread rapidly before the Spanish invaders first arrived in the empire. The spread was probably aided by the efficient Inca road system. Within a few years, smallpox claimed between 60% and 94% of the Inca population, with other waves of European disease weakening them further. Smallpox was only the first epidemic. Typhus in 1546, influenza and smallpox together in 1558, smallpox again in 1589, diphtheria in 1614, measles in 1618 all ravaged the Inca people. Society, population. The number of people inhabiting Huhsunqu at its peak is uncertain, with estimates ranging from 4 to 37 million. In spite of the fact that the Inca kept excellent census records using the quipu, knowledge of how to read them was lost and almost all of them were destroyed by the Spaniards. Language. Since the Inca Empire lacked a written language, the main form of communication and recording in the empire were quippus, ceramics and spoken Quechua, the language the Incas imposed upon the peoples within the empire. The plethora of civilizations in the Andean region provided for a general disunity that the Incas had to subdue in order to maintain control. While Quechua had been spoken in the Andean region, including central Peru, for several years prior to the expansion of the Inca civilization, the dialect of Quechua the Incas imposed was an adaptation from the kingdom of Cusco, or what some historians define as the Cusco dialect. The language imposed by the Incas diverted from its original phonetics as some societies formed their own regional varieties. The diversity of Quechua at that point and even today does not come directly from the Incas, who were just a part of the reason for Quechua's diversity. The civilizations within the empire that had previously spoken Quechua kept their own variety distinct from the Quechua the Incas spread. Although these dialects of Quechua had a similar linguistic structure, they differed according to the region in which they were spoken. Although most of the societies within the empire accepted Quechua, the Incas allowed several societies to keep their original languages, such as Aymara, which remains in use in contemporary Bolivia, where it is the primary indigenous language, and in various regions surrounding Bolivia. The linguistic body of the Inca Empire was thus varied. The Incas' impact outlasted their empire, as the Spanish continued the use of Quechua. Religion. Inca myths were transmitted orally until early Spanish colonists recorded them. However, some scholars claimed that they were recorded on quipus, Andean knotted string records. The Inca believed in reincarnation. Death was a passage to the next world that was full of difficulties. The spirit of the dead, Camaquan, would need to follow a long road, and during the trip the assistance of a black dog that could see in the dark was required. Most Incas imagined the afterworld to be like that of the European notion of heaven, with flower-covered fields and snow-capped mountains. It was important to the Inca that they not die as a result of burning, and that the body of the deceased not be incinerated. Burning would cause the vital force to disappear and threaten the passage to the afterworld. Those who obeyed the Inca moral code, Ama Suwa, Ama Lala, Ama Quella, went to live in the sun's warmth, while others spent their eternal days in the cold earth. The Inca nobility practiced cranial deformation. They wrapped tight cloth straps around the heads of newborn bones to shape the soft skulls into a more conical form, thus distinguishing the nobility from other social classes. The Incas made human sacrifices. As many as 4,007 court officials, favorites and concubines were killed upon the death of the Inca Huayna Capac in 1527. The Incas performed child sacrifices around important events, such as the death of the Sapa Inca during a famine. These sacrifices were known as Capac. Deities. The Incas were polytheists who attempted to please many gods. These included Viracocha, created all living things; Apu-Ilapu, rain god, prayed to when they need rain; Ayacachi, hot temper god, causes earthquakes; Ilapa, goddess of lightning and thunder; Inti, sun god and patron deity of the holy city of Cusco; Kuachi, rainbow god, connected with fertility; Mamakila, wife of Inti, called moon mother; Mama Occlo, wisdom to civilize the people, taught women to weave cloth and build houses; Manco Capac, known for his courage and sent to earth to become first king of the Incas, taught people how to grow plants, make weapons, work together, share resources and worship the gods. Pachamama, the goddess of earth and wife of Viracocha. People give her offerings of coca leaves and beer and pray to her for major agricultural occasions. Kushamama, goddess of the sea. Sashamama means mother tree, goddess in the shape of a snake with two heads. Yakumama means mother water, represented as a snake. When she came to earth she transformed into a great river. Economy. The Inca Empire employed central planning. The Inca Empire traded with outside regions, although they did not operate a substantial internal market economy. While axmanes were used along the northern coast, presumably by the provincial Mandalay trading class, most lived in a traditional economy in which households were required to pay taxes both in kind and in the form of the mite corvée labor and military obligations, though barter was present in some areas. In return, the state provided security, food in times of hardship through the supply of emergency resources, agricultural projects to increase productivity, and occasional feasts. The economy rested on the material foundations of the vertical archipelago, a system of ecological complementarity in accessing resources and the cultural foundation of aine, or reciprocal exchange. Government. Beliefs. The Sapa Inca was conceptualized as divine and was effectively head of the state religion. The Wilakumu was second to the emperor. Local religious traditions continued and in some cases such as the oracle at Pachacamac on the Peruvian coast were officially venerated. Following Pachacuti, the Sapa Inca claimed descent from Inti, who placed a high value on imperial blood. By the end of the empire, it was common to incestuously wed brother and sister. He was son of the sun, and his people the Intipcharan, or children of the sun, and both his right to rule and mission to conquer derived from his holy ancestor. The Sapa Inca also presided over ideologically important festivals, notably during the Inti Raymi, or warriors' cultivation, attended by soldiers, mummified rulers, nobles, clerics and the general population of Cusco, beginning on the June solstice and culminating 9 days later with the ritual breaking of the earth, using a foot plow by the Inca. Moreover, Cusco was considered cosmologically central, loaded as it was with huacas and radiating seclines and geographic center of the four quarters. Inca Garcilaso de la Vega called it the navel of the universe. Organization of the empire. The Inca Empire was a federalist system consisting of a central government with the Inca at its head and four quarters, or Sulu, Chinchesulu, Antisuyu, Kuntisuyu and Kulasulu. The four corners of these quarters met at the center, Cusco. These suyu were likely created around 1460 during the reign of Pachacuti, before the empire reached its largest territorial extent. At the time the suyu were established, they were roughly of equal size and only later changed the proportions as the empire expanded north and south along the Andes. Cusco was likely not organized as a wamani, or province. Rather, it was probably somewhat akin to a modern federal district, like Washington, D.C. or Mexico City. The city sat at the center of the four suyu and served as the preeminent center of politics and religion. While Cusco was essentially governed by the Sapa Inca, his relatives, and the royal Panica lineages, each suyu was governed by an apu, a term of esteem used for men of high status and for venerated mountains. Both Cusco as a district and the four suyu as administrative regions were grouped into Upper Hanan and Lower Huron divisions. As the Inca did not have written records, it is impossible to exhaustively list the constituent wamani. However, colonial records allow us to reconstruct a partial list. There were likely more than 86 wamani, with more than 48 in the highlands and more than 38 on the coast. Suyu. The most populous suyu was Chinche Suyu, which encompassed the former Chimu Empire and much of the northern Andes. At its largest extent, it extended through much of modern Ecuador and into modern Colombia. The largest suyu by area was Huhsunqu, named after the Aymara-speaking Cola people. It encompassed the Bolivian Altiplano and much of the southern Andes, reaching Argentina and as far south as the Maipo River in central Chile. Historian José Bengoa singled out Quilota as perhaps the foremost Inca settlement. The second smallest suyu, Antisuyu, was northwest of Cusco in the high Andes. Its name is the root of the word Andes. Kuntasuyu was the smallest suyu, located along the southern coast of modern Peru, extending into the highlands towards Cusco. Laws. The Inca state had no separate judiciary or codified laws. Customs, expectations and traditional local powerholders governed behavior. The state had legal force, such as through tocoirikok or inspectors. The highest such inspector, typically a blood relative to the Sapa Inca, acted independently of the conventional hierarchy, providing a point of view from the Sapa Inca free of bureaucratic influence. Administration. Colonial sources are not entirely clear or in agreement about Inca government structure, such as exact duties and functions of government positions. But the basic structure can be broadly described. The top was the Sapa Inca. Below that may have been the Wilakumu, literally the priest who recounts, the high priest of the sun. However, beneath the Sapa Inca also sat the Inca Rantan, who was a confidant and assistant to the Sapa Inca, perhaps similar to a prime minister. Starting with Topa Inca Yupanqui, a council of the realm, was composed of 16 nobles, 2 from Han and Cuscus, 2 from Her and Cuscus, 4 from Chinche Suyu, 2 from Kuntasuyu, 4 from Colasuyu, and 2 from Antisuyu. This weighting of representation balanced the Hanan and Huron divisions of the empire, both within Cusco and within the quarters. While provincial bureaucracy and government varied greatly, the basic organization was decimal. Taxpayers, male heads of household of a certain age range, were organized into corvée labor units that formed the state's muscle as part of mite service. Each unit of more than 100 taxpayers were headed by curaka, while smaller units were headed by kamayu, a lower, non-hereditary status. However, while curaka status was hereditary and typically served for life, The position of a curaca in the hierarchy was subject to change based on the privileges of superiors in the hierarchy. A pachaca curaca could be appointed to the position by a Huhsunqu curaca. Furthermore, one curaca in each decimal level could serve as the head of one of the 9 groups at a La level, so that a pachaca curaca might also be a Huhsunqu curaca, in effect directly responsible for one unit of 100 taxpayers and less directly responsible for 9 other such units.